Priorities, trash, weekend roses. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1375 of What You Up To Now, documenting the journey as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate world of business, almost 5 decades, 48 years running different businesses in at least 27 different industries, as well as over a quarter century of that, simultaneously working in corporate America for some of the biggest name corporations on the planet today, as well as family-owned organizations. So all different types and sizes of organizations, all different formats, all different structures, all different industries, some related, some not. And in 2017, following my divorce, I had the opportunity to decide, well, what do I want to do now? Because I was old enough to retire, but I really wasn't done yet. I wasn't really ready to just throw in the towel and say, or the rag, and say, hey, that's my glasses wife, right? And just be done. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go on to the internet and explore this online world because I've always been curious about it. So I started playing in the online world, and I've been doing a bunch of different things on here. I haven't kept track of how many different businesses and industries I've worked with online, into the hundreds now, hundreds of different businesses and different industries. But it's been fun and challenging and different, although part of business is business, whether you're online or off, right? Some of the principles, some of the things are the same. A lot of them are different, believe it or not. And this year and last year, as part of COVID, I decided to do a couple things. One, a Get Up and Go challenge, a free 30-day challenge that I've been doing pretty much regularly every other month since April of 2020. We will finish our 10th one in the month of December. We'll do it one more time this year, and then we'll decide what's going to happen with that next year. I'm not sure. It'll depend how next year feels to me, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't going to do it in 2021, but 2021, the first month of the year, I felt just up in the air and as discombobulated and messed up and mixed with as I did in 2020 by the outside environment and the outside world. So I thought it was essential that in February and April, and then August, February, April, August, October, and December, we're doing it in 2021 as well, the Get Up and Go challenge, to help us to install a framework called the SOAP framework in our subconscious that makes dealing with changes and challenges and obstacles and things outside of us that happen, as making that as automatic as breathing, and guaranteeing that we have better results after experiencing something like that than before, because we go through this framework that we've installed in our subconscious and we apply it to anything that happens to us, so that we make sure we consider the things that need to be considered on a subconscious level as well as a conscious level. Some things happen and we need to consciously be aware of them. A lot of things happen and we just need to have a framework that we run them through to guarantee that we're always moving in the direction that we want to go. So Get Up and Go challenge. This month is an off month, so in November I'm doing No Nonsense November, and I'm not feeling well. I haven't been feeling well for about a month now, just with a cold, and I thought I was over it, and then all of a sudden I got whacked with another version. You know, colds, we forget. With COVID, we've forgotten that colds come and go, and that a lot of us get them every year. I've gotten a cold every year for probably the majority of my life, and normally you just run through it and don't pay any attention to it. But with all the nonsense of COVID, I think that we make them more serious than they were in the past. So under the weather and pretty much over it, right? Over feeling blah. So I was going to maybe not do No Nonsense November. And then, you know, November rolls around and it's morning and I'm making videos. And I'm like, okay, well, what is something I would share today? And so I shared it on the 1st. And then, of course, I had to do it the 2nd, the 3rd. And today was the 4th. And we talked about priorities, your priorities. Do you know, are you aware of, and have you set your personal priorities? Because we have priorities in different areas and aspects of our life. We have work priorities, but they're usually our employer's priorities, right? We have business priorities, and if we're the business owner, we set those priorities. We have personal life and relationship and, you know, family priorities. We have all different areas and aspects of our life that we really need to consider what's important to us, not only in each of those areas, but in a priority order at any given time, what's most important to us. And when we know what that is, it makes our life and decision making so much easier. So do you know your priorities? If not, I challenge you to think about that today. I like to break my life down to, and I've shared this a lot over the last year and a half and over decades prior to that, in these categories: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution. And then this year in April, I added communication and confidence, because I'm doing and getting some coaching in those areas, and I like to share the things that I learned. So I have always, or not always, but for at least the last 40, closer to 50 years, set my life on this framework. I have physical long-term goals, like legacy, long-term, lifelong goals. I have mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, and contribution goals. And then I break those down in smaller and smaller chunks so that I know, what am I doing every single day to move me toward each of those priorities, each of those long-range goals. And I've done that for a long, long time. And it makes everyday decision making so much easier, because if somebody asks me to do something or participate in something, and it furthers and moves me toward one of those goals and objectives I want, I'll find a way to make that happen and say yes. If it doesn't, if it's totally out of, if somebody asks me about Bitcoin, for example, there's nothing about Bitcoin, there's nothing about it that moves me toward what I want in terms of any of my areas and aspects of my life goals and objectives. So it's easy for me to say, no. Have you heard of Bitcoin? Have you heard of MLM? Yeah, heard of it. Don't care. Doesn't meet my personal objectives and priorities. So I'm not going to invest any of my time and energy in certain categories. It allows us to filter out all the stuff that isn't important to us. So that was our topic of No Nonsense November today. Do you know your priorities? If not, start to figure out what they are. And you can begin by just prioritizing the different areas and aspects of your life. Maybe you're having health challenges. I'm having a cold right now, so my physical well-being has had to jump up to the top so that I pay attention to it. Otherwise, sometimes I just do my habitual things and I don't pay enough attention to it. When I get a cold or something, it's a indicator to me that I'm not paying attention to something, and I need to figure out what it is and fix it so that I feel better again, so that I feel like I don't need to pay as much attention to my physical well-being. Same is true of all these areas and aspects of my life. I have things set up in each and every one of them, but it doesn't mean stuff isn't going to happen to get my attention and say, no, you're not paying enough attention to your relationship with your son or daughter. You're not paying enough attention to your relationship with yourself. Whatever it is, stuff will happen to get our attention, to make sure we're living in alignment with our priorities. Our money idiom today was one man's trash is another one's treasure for Supersize Your Business. And I like that one, mainly because I am a collector of stuff that a lot of people would consider trash. Now, I contend that everything I keep for a reason. Might not make sense to someone else, but it makes sense to me. And so to me, they are treasures. Excuse me. So that was our idiom, our expression today. It's from the 1700s, and there's a lot of different versions. One man's meat is another man's poison. One man's whatever is another, and again, we could say one person's. So it reminds me of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Each of us are attracted to or like different things for different reasons. And that's what makes the world so interesting, is that we get to all want what we want, and it doesn't matter what other people want. That's what makes life fun, is that we are all different, we are all diverse, and we all bring to this world this incredible amount of creative potential and creativity and different ways of seeing and viewing the world. And that makes it fun and entertaining and interesting. Think how boring it would be if we all wanted the exact same things. If we all were competing for the exact same things, it would be terrible. Life would not be very fun or positive at all. And then finally, our annual challenge today was about stopping and smelling the roses. I think every so often we've got to stop and smell the roses page in this particular journal, this mindfulness journal. And this one was about the simple things, the simple pleasures of the weekend. Remember to appreciate the simple things about the upcoming weekend. And so those are just the pieces of content that I'm working on right now. Again, I am paying attention to resting and really recharging my batteries right now, because I'm so over having a cold that I want to quit talking about it. I think as soon as I quit talking about it, I'll feel better. I feel awesome. I need to yell back again. I feel awesome. That always works for me. And I do feel awesome. For the most part, I feel awesome. I just got a stuffy head and a cloggy throat, which is more of an irritant than an annoyance than it is anything else. All right. If I can help you in any way, ask in the comments below. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. Just fill you in on what we're working on, what's coming up, and what is next. Have a great day, and I'll be with you tomorrow.